Aloha and welcome, guys. Yes, it's not Wednesday. Double check your calendar. Something happened yesterday and no live yesterday, but we are here today. And you've got not just me, but because we don't want to put you to sleep with just me and the dogs. By the way, the dogs are driving me crazy right now. And we have Miss Sleuth Mom. Hello, Sleuth. How are
Hello,
you?
Kamai.
Hey,
Good. How are
girl.
you?
I'm having fun. I got two dogs in heat right now. Yeah, it's fun. A lot of fun. Yeah. And I was talking to someone the other day about trying to keep them separate. They're in diapers and all that. And someone sent me a picture of when they tried to keep their girl and boy apart during heat. The boy literally chewed through the door, that far on the door, totally
Oh my
chewed it away.
gosh,
Oh yeah. It was like, oh my gosh, okay, the diapers will have to work because I like my doors the way they are right now.
that's
So,
insane. I've never seen anything like that.
oh, it's like, oh my gosh, Wrigley's only interested in Cassie though. So poor Pia's feeling left out, I think. But yeah, other than that, at least we got the live in. I thought for a while there, power in Hawaii went out, FYI, everyone. And for a second, I didn't think we were going to get the live in today. But Sleuth was ready with all sorts of ideas for us to talk about. So, who do we have in chat, real quick? Let's say, okay, you can have this, Cassie. How's that? Robbie got in first. By the way, Robbie's been going live over on Twitch also, which, by the way, we're over live on Twitch right now also. And we've got someone over there. Smiley is over in Twitch. So when we get down there, we can make sure we say hi to Smiley. And then we have Chris. Hello, Chris. Chris and I have been talking. I don't know, Sleuth. Had you heard that they think they figured out who the Zodiac killer was?
I didn't. Like, I mean, again, recently, I know there was a guy that they were looking into at
Yeah.
one point, but I didn't know if they change that,
It's
or is it the same guy?
interesting. Smiley's here too. Double windows. Yes. Hello, Smiley. Um, it is the same person. Okay, it was a Navy or Air Force for something, a
Hmm.
military guy. And but a group that looks at these things is like, no, no, this is this guy, and the government is kind of just not letting it out, but supposedly he matches some of the DNA and all. Really, it's not okay. This
It's
isn't
not
post.
post. Oh,
Whoa, Chris. Okay, I with our power out today, I didn't get like 90% of my text messages. It's another okay, I need to take a look at this one real quickly because yeah, I was last night reading I was thinking it was post according to that. But okay, Chris, we may end up doing a live on this subject because
no,
I grew up on this
it
case. I
definitely says
mean,
post. It says,
they're still saying post.
yeah, this one says, whenever I just Googled it, Newsweek has, did FBI miss a chance to arrest and suspected Zodiac killer Gary Francis Post is the headline. And it just came out,
Okay.
yeah, today.
That's what I saw. So
So,
Chris thinks it's someone else. Okay, Chris, you and I need to do a little bit more talking about that one for sure. So we'll have to see what goes on. But yeah, it's really that case has been one of the standbys in my life. So,
oh yeah,
and
for sure. That's
I
always
don't
been
have you.
like my interest, my area of interest in general has been serial
Oh,
killers. And so that's
yes.
what got me started into into crime,
Yep.
looking into the different killers and why they do things, and I took psychology classes about it and criminology and all that stuff and
Yes.
digging into it.
To all that.
And then of course, whenever somebody local goes missing or something like that happens, that gets you interested in the
Yep.
actual like everyday stuff. So,
So,
not that serial
yeah, the
killers aren't
psych
every
on
day.
it.
They say that there's what 50 active at any given time in the United States. So,
That but that alone is scary. But
terrifying
yeah, the
thought, right?
psychology of it all. And how many of those I was talking with, I don't think she's here yet, but Jet's mom the other day. We were talking about how sometimes you get these serial killers where no one would have ever guessed it was them. So many
Mhm.
times, serial killers are the one right next door that we have no idea even had this secret life going on.
Right, kinda
So,
like
yeah.
PJ.
Yeah, just like PJ, is that it? And, oh, yes, Miss PJ. We love, yeah, PJ. Oh my gosh, I heard that she was there. And if you go dig in her backyard right now, talking about PJ, girl. I love you. Yeah, I saw you were live earlier and I could not get. Guys, our power was out for over almost 2 hours this morning. And so I'm sitting there trying to watch things and I'm like getting the buffering and the buffering and it was crazy. So I love you, PJ, by the way. She was doing a great mental health live earlier. And also, I'm going to have to watch it as a replay later on tonight. So definitely watch it. And yeah, watch out around her too, because for all you know, by the way, I highlighted this thing. I don't know, have you ever met Van? I don't know if she's still here. Van is one of my OGs.
I
Van
say, I think
was
whenever I've been in Cantina a couple different times, I might have seen
Yes.
her.
Yep. Van is from Australia. So it's yeah, time difference. I was like, what's she doing up right on now already? So love you, Van. Okay, Cassie, there you can have more treats. How's that? So okay, and there's Sleuth Mom saying thank you for the super chat. Cody's voice. We are Cody's voice. Hey, my dear, I am so happy. There was a case that a couple of us were all working and talking about behind the scenes. And oh, I was so happy that one. I'm not mentioning names because I don't want it to kind of, she deserves a little privacy now. But I was so happy to hear that one finished up and they found her and she was okay and all. So, but hello, my dear. And there's Miss BC. Hello, BC. How you doing? And Smiley on two different sides. By the way, for those of you who have never tried Twitch, check out Twitch. I'm under it, just plain out old local my. There's a lot of cool things you can do over on Twitch. Really cool things you can do over there. So definitely check that out. And there's my Cristola. Hello, Miss Cristola. And yes, I saw your comment earlier. Van is here or was here. She may be dealing with kiddos right now. Okay, lighting the way, huh? PJ is making lunch for tomorrow. And then we got talking about Hen. Hen popped up. How you doing, Hen? Love you, my dear. Bryce Star or Bris? Okay, I now this is the problem now.
I
In
would say
fact, there's
Breeze
the
Star.
chat. Bree Star. I need to find out if who I know everyone because on Twitch some people are getting different names. So you guys got to
Mm.
let me know as we run into everyone if I know you by another name. And okay, there you go. You can have this. I know I'm missing someone. I keep seeing someone pop. There she is, Kathleen. Hello, Kathleen. How you doing, my dear? And also, Cassie and Wrigley are being Wrigley's being noisy. He just wants treats. So I thought what we'd do, Sleuth Mom came across this as we were setting up for time. Wrigley, okay, you want to say hi to everyone? Say hi, everyone, Wrigley.
Hi,
Hello.
Wrigley.
Would you stop barking now, please? Could you please stop barking? Thank you.
Probably not.
No, of course not. Why would I ever want to be quiet? What is
Where's the cheat?
quiet? Exactly. I'm like, I do have Cheetos in a bag over here, but they're closed up right now. So, for those of you who don't know, Cheetos are the secret ammunition when they will not shut up. You bring out the Cheetos and then they're very happy. So, but, and also, let me pull this up. So, we right now currently have an Amber Alert out there, and I wanted to start this off with pulling this up. Let me change my windows around. They are cute little puppies. Thanks, Smiley. And so this Amber Alert is actually it's a familial abduction going on right now over in Idaho. Okay, missing 2-year-old boy taken by father. Guys, I'm going to say this so many times. I don't know about you, Sleuth, how you feel with this, but a lot of times people think, oh, it's a parent. The child's safe. They're with their parent. How many times have we seen a child hurt when they're with a parent during an abduction
Right. I was going to
situation?
say, unfortunately, parent does not mean safe. And I can name several cases where, unfortunately, we had bitter ends. Um,
Yep.
and it's just so always pray and search and keep
Yep.
your eyes peeled and share and all the stuff. even if they are related. And then
It's
God, the
mhm.
other side of things is how many parents do we see just in not Amber Alerts that are hurting their kids lately?
Oh
So
my God. Yeah, no, yeah, it's really been rough lately. So in this case, we are looking for a little boy by the name of Rudy. He's got this cute, cute, curly hair. Okay, Riggsy, I'm gonna put doggies on the floor. Okay, Rudy was taken by his non-custodial father, Rudolfo Reyes, from a yard. So they were outside playing in the yard, it looks like. On North Yale Street just before 11 a.m. He's believed to be driving a gray 2008 Lexus IS, Idaho license plate 2CTJ 790. He was last seen wearing a tank top, possibly white, and jeans. Rudy was wearing a gray shirt with a hood and a diaper. So they put it out across all of the state right now. So please, yeah, too
it's
many.
actually
And
spread
like,
into Oregon as well already. They do believe that he was headed towards Oregon. So
oh, there, you're right. Okay, so guys, those of you anywhere, Idaho, Oregon, they're definitely on the run right now. And we've seen it where all we need is dad right now to take this little boy and drop him off somewhere safe. Okay, just let his little boy be safe at this point, because we've seen too many cases where car accidents occur and someone is hurt, all sorts of different things. So I will, if we still are missing at the end of this live, I'll work on a poster so we can share the poster out and see what we can do on that. But there's our picture of the little one and dad. So, and we'll see what comes up with that. So, what I wish I had actually, I'm going to do this real quick if you don't mind. And while we're talking, I am going to um, try to cut out that face just so we can put it up in the upper corner here. So,
mhm.
okay, I'll work on that one while we're talking. And so, anyhow, talking story for today. We were thinking we might have had the West Boys trial finished today, but
Verdict.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
verdict finished, and did not happen. They did go home without anything from what it sounds like. But I thought, Sleuth Mom, you were thinking too. You guys were all talking about the case earlier. So thought we'd just kind of come back to the case, look at the case, talk about anything you guys thought about it. For those of you in chat right now, how many of you guys followed this case when it was okay unveiling? This was one of those cases that everyone was following on YouTube. So I'm wondering how many of us were actually involved during this time. Sleuth Mom is a 1. Chris just sent me an latest update on Rudy. Awesome. Thank you, my dear. Oh, perfect, perfect. I will pull all that. So yeah, I actually myself, that's when I was starting to really get to know YouTube and the missing community. The West Boys. Oh, Seal, we're talking about the West Boys. We did have a missing little boy, but the West Boys. Were you actively following this case when it started? Because now we're at trial, so it's been a little while. But how many of you? Okay, so we got lots of ones. How many of you guys immediately, okay, felt you knew what had happened in this case? Okay, and I don't know, Sleuth, what was your initial thoughts when the case started coming across? And I'm
Well,
going to bring up the article.
whenever they were reported missing, I was like, "Oh no, this is horrible!" Right? They're reported missing, and then
Yeah.
the footage came out that they didn't walk away. So then my mind immediately went to, um, that they had to have had some type of freak accident happen. Maybe one of the older kids hurt the boys.
Yes.
Maybe they left them unattended in a vehicle and had a hot car death. Like maybe they left them asleep in their car seats or something along those lines. Like that's how my mind thought about this, because I was like, there's no way, like who murders two children? And then of
Yeah.
course then we hear this evidence and the different things throughout this trial, and that's exactly what they did on two different days nonetheless. They made
Yeah.
the open decision to murder them on a different day.
Yeah. And that's what got me, because I remember with me when the story first came out, I was really, really active over on Annie's Discord. And we were talking, those of you who are still in there, you guys remember, we were just talking like nuts about this case, just trying to figure out what was going on. Then you had the parents interview, and just on body language alone, it was screaming stuff out. And from the get go, and I never like to jump, but I was like, oh, this is not good. But I kept thinking, yeah, we were looking at the video where the kids weren't getting in the car, um, all these different things going on. And you're like, how does, I never thought it was going to be something where it was actively decided to do something, because I was like, who does that with two children yet takes care of other children? Okay, you think if it's going to be a family annihilator type situation, you go for everyone. You don't pick and choose what you're going to do something unless it's an accident type thing. But it wasn't in this case. And that's what
Right.
just threw me for a loop, was that I
Right.
remember watching, hey, Beatlemaniac, by the way. So from the beginning on this case too. Yeah. And yeah, him driving in a circle. I remember, yeah, all of us sitting there following and trying to figure out, okay, if you drove around the circle, you had this. And there were so many YouTubers who were out there at the time actually trying to make sure to be a voice for these two little boys. Okay.
That's
And
what I was saying earlier, that I think that that's part of the reason that they have sealed this as much as they did, unfortunately, because this is how several bigger channels now, I mean, look at Duty Run, for example. They made their channels off of this case, off of these boys. And so, not not that them getting the news out there was a bad thing. I don't think that it was a bad thing at all, but I do think that that
right,
encouraged the judge and the court system to lock things down the way that they have.
right, right. Oh, I think all of us thought going into this, oh my gosh, if they don't lock it down, it was going to be a madhouse. You
Mhm.
were going to have, how many people would have driven out there to be outside, okay, or try to even get inside?
Right.
All these things. Yes, Kathleen, you got a great point there too. She never came out of the house to help search.
Right.
Okay, you've got during the night of the search. I mean, if they had never had some of that videotape just truly from the get-go really gave people an idea of what was, hello, Jet's mom, how you doing, my dear? It was, yeah, some of them actually did. We had some getting arrested
Mhm.
during the time period and all. And I think it was kind of like that Wild West time for us as a community, where people were trying to figure out, okay, how do I report on a case? Because I
Right.
think it's great that people report on cases. I really
Mhm.
do. And I know this is kind of in a different zone, but we take the conversation wherever it goes.
Mhm.
Reporting on cases is great, but I think what we're trying to find right now as a community is, where is that
The
middle
happy medium.
ground?
Right.
Yes.
I appreciate people who go boots on the ground to an
Oh,
extent,
yes.
but there is also a line that you can cross. The minute that you start harassing family and encouraging riots or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's whenever you
exactly.
start to get to that line crossing.
Yeah.
Kathleen, I have a question for you. I seen that you had put that they did come to a verdict, but it's not being read until tomorrow. And I'm just curious where you've seen that at, Kathleen, because I went to KGET 17 News and they are still saying no verdict. They're returning at 11 a.m. Bailiff said the reason that they are starting late is because there are scheduling issues in the morning. So I assume that that meant that some of the jurors had some type of scheduling issue,
Right.
um, or the court even, that they already have something else scheduled. I'm not sure. But there was
Right.
no indication from KGET 17 News that was a verdict. So I'm just curious, like, who is saying that there is a
Who is
verdict?
saying
Because
that?
if there is,
That's a,
that's amazing.
yeah,
If there
that's
is.
great. Yeah, in fact, when I saw that, I was like, okay, because I missed so much today. So I wasn't sure.
Right.
Oh, by the way, hi, here she goes. Here you come. I swear every time it's like, here she goes again. Okay, yeah, that was way off note, off key. Yeah. And Katie K is here too. Hello, Katie K. It was in the Facebook page that you were on. Okay, got it. So it'll be
Maybe just
interesting to
take it
see.
grain of salt until we see. I know that that's hard to do, but yeah, the news source that has been there, I mean, they're the ones that have been reporting the questions and different things like that the jury is asking. Like they're literally sitting in this courtroom waiting all
Yeah.
day and just watching everything take place. And so they're still saying no verdict and that the jury will be back tomorrow at 11. And so until I hear otherwise from a news source, I guess that's where I'd just be careful spreading that they were finished. You know what
Always
I mean?
one. Yeah, you always have to be careful. I mean, I just looked up, some of you guys know through Discord, there's been a group of amazing viewers who have helped me go through and update every single case I've ever done from Missing Mondays. And I was telling them I had originally planned that after I got the information, I was going to go verify it and all, because it is so easy for information to be misconstrued, or people write things and it's not totally right, or they've got how many times, Sleuth, have I done a poster and contacted you after the fact saying, oh my god, the information that I got was wrong, I got to
Right?
redo this poster now, I've got the wrong age or something like that.
It's like a
So
giant game of telephone sometimes.
oh, it's crazy. It was like the case that I was covering the other day. Okay, Madeline. Um, Everything was saying she was 20 years old or 21, and I could not get what was her age. And actually BC was, who was huge help on that one. It's like, oh wait, I think her birthday is this week, and actually today, if I remember right. And I was like, okay, there you go, based off of that, let's say she's 21, because by the time, unfortunately, let's keep the poster up to date. So having that is definitely good. So
Regardless, the
I
one thing I
was,
wanted to say is that KGET News or whatever, I don't even know what it's, whatever their acronym is, they did say that they're going to be able to go live for the verdict. And so I should be able to stream something, which will be
oh,
nice
that'll
once
be
it comes
great.
in. Yeah. And
That
so
will be
I
great.
do see where she's talking about. I came to the one family or to the one Facebook group, and there
Mhm.
is a or somebody who is alleging they know a family member of the, like a bio family member is
Okay.
alleging, so this person is alleging that they know them and
Right.
alleging that they had gotten a text from an advocate person saying that they should be there tomorrow because the verdict will be tomorrow. Now, I have no doubt that they're going to come to a verdict at some point, probably pretty early on tomorrow,
Right.
because of the questions they were asking. Their questions were literally about how to finish off the charges. You know, they were
Okay. Yeah.
asking questions. Let me just read the questions here.
Yeah. That works. That works.
Because their questions were just very indicative of being close. Like they're close.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and so it wouldn't surprise me if there is a verdict pretty early on, but I doubt it's going to be right at 11.
I think we're getting
Um,
close. I think we definitely, in fact, we thought for sure that we were going to have it. Sorry, guys. I just noticed Batissimo's on strike again, fixing it. Um, but yeah, no, I think we're all at this point where we think they're getting very, very close to having a decision here. By the way, BC did just verify while you're pulling that stuff up to read. Today is Madeline's birthday. So, hello, DC. Welcome, 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 DC. I love that it shows both Twitch and YouTube all in one area. I love this.
that's so
So,
cool.
oh yes. So, but yeah, so Madeline, who went missing, for those of you who, let me actually pull her picture up for a few minutes. This is Madeline, who went missing, okay, within the last 2 weeks, actually really recently, and she needs any help getting the word out right now. And there was some arguments going on in her apartment right before she went missing. So if you guys can help us spread, and today is her 21st birthday. I mean, all of you guys that are over 21, remember how you celebrated your 21st birthday. She had probably all of those plans to have that same type of 21st birthday, and instead she's missing. So please help us get her name out. So, okay,
Okay.
you got those
So
things? Yeah.
at let me see here. At 1:48 p.m. today, they asked for clarification as to which charges applied to which child. So, as we know, they had different charges for Oren and Orson and which
Yes.
charge numbers they were looking at. So it says a verdict has not been reached at this point. Then they said the jury also asked if instruction 1B can be considered for count 5, the second count of second-degree murder. And then they said, as I don't have a copy of the lengthy jury instructions, I'm not sure what that means, which, unfortunately, we can't go back and pull up their jury instructions to see what instruction 1B was. There was also clarification asked in a third question. Again, the exact details of which were not read in court, but Judge Charles R. Remmer said in his response, would say the answer would be found in their jury instructions. As to the first question about which charges apply to which child, Bremer is sending in a note telling the jury that counts 1 through 3 apply to Orrin, counts 4 through 6 apply to Orson, and the 7th count relates to making a false report to law enforcement. Counts 1 through 3 are second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and willful cruelty to a child. Counts 4 through 6 are conspiracy to commit murder, second-degree murder, and willful cruelty to a child. And so the reason that those are different is because obviously Orson was killed at a later time frame, and they conspired to kill him, whereas with Orrin, it's more of an involuntary manslaughter and the cruelty to a child, like they didn't get him the care or whatever, because we still don't know what his cause of death was. Like the brother kind of described him foaming at the mouth and getting sick and things like that and just dying. And so I don't know if he got into something. I don't know what happened, but regardless, they didn't get him medical care. Exactly. So then another note was sent at 2:55 p.m. making reference to part of the instructions, asking if it's only an overt act that makes a guilty verdict. Brummer sent back the response to the jury, and they are continuing to deliberate. We don't know what his response back was, but somebody said in the comments that one overt act needs to be proven for conspiracy. Judge did not say that, but that's what that means. So it needs to be proven for a conspiracy to commit murder.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it sounds like they're heading towards guilty on at least some of the charges.
Yes.
It does sound like that maybe, I don't know, it sounds like they could be on the edge on a few of them too.
Well, I think and that becomes part of the thing. I've talked before that I've been on an attempted murder trial jury. And in that case, they overcharged the people, and it frustrated me to no extent because the person was guilty. And but unfortunately, we could not bring back the guilty verdict because of how they were charged. But what we did, and I realize how often this does happen, people do go in there and you do get that 1 or 2 people in there who are going to make sure they dot every I, cross every T, make sure the emotions are not running the deliberations and the actual facts are. So they're actually doing a good job on that, it sounds like. So let me bring this up. Beatlemaniac was saying that it's been a while since they've heard about the case and everything and needs to go through the actual trial and all that and listen to things. And by the way, hi Seal. I don't know if I said hi Seal, but if I didn't, hi Seal. And so this is an article. So we came across this and thought we'd just kind of go through this and kind of brings us up to date, up to the point where deliberations started. And so attorneys in the West trial argued a conspiracy was in place in this case, but from who? If you ask the prosecution, they'd say it was Trezell and Jacqueline conspiring to cover up the deaths of their adopted sons, Orrin and Orson, classic and sincere. If you ask the defense, they say it was the investigators who conspired against the couple and ignored other possibilities. The California City couple reported the boys missing on December 21st of 2020. Cal City police responded to the search area, interviewed the Wests and neighbors, and eventually Bakersfield police, Kern County sheriffs, and the FBI were brought in to assist. The investigation, however, would lead detectives and the prosecution to believe Orrin and Orson may never have even made it to Cal City. I remember that with us when all of a sudden we started changing that thought because we were all thinking about the house, everything's coming from the house. And then we realized, wait, there's this other side of things where everything may have. So, yeah, I remember that switch even within us. Um, they suspected the boys died months earlier. The prosecution, Trezell and Jacqueline have no moral fiber, prosecutor Eric Smith said during closing arguments. They killed 2 kids. According to the prosecution, when police responded to the scene on December 21st, the stories Trezell and Jacqueline were telling them did not match. Police looked in the dirt for footprints, but only one could be found, and it was from an adult. Cal City police officers Brian Hansen were sent to Bakersfield to speak with the West's other 4 children. This is when the investigators started unraveling the plot. Trezell and Jacqueline miscalculated because they didn't know that law enforcement could talk to the kids. And girl, you've seen this how many times, even with little Ariel right now. The only reason why we know what's going on is because her sister was brave enough to speak up and say, and that takes pulling the children. I'll be honest, you got to pull the kids away so they feel safe first.
Right. And you know, part of the problem with that is, though, then you have your entire case rest on a child. And that's terrifying. I mean, there was a situation not too long ago with Ariel Sellers, where her sister was threatening to commit suicide and she's having a horrible time. You know, she's having a horrible time emotionally, dealing with everything that happened, dealing with the life that she was thrown into after everything happened. You know, the foster care system and the group homes, and then they were with a family and then they got sent back, and now she's with family again, thank God, and in a better place. But you look at the situation where she was in this group home and she was threatening to self-harm and different things like that. And so what happens to the case if something like that would happen? You know, what happens to the case if she would, you know, God forbid, you don't want her to hurt herself anyways, but on top of that, you end up losing your entire trial unless they have interviews that are recorded, or I'm sure they do, but at the same time, does it hold the same weight? Because you have to be able to
You
face your
can't question.
accuser and right.
You can't question. First of all, Rachel, hey Rachel, thanks for popping in, my dear. I sit here and I look at these cases, and in the case of Ariel, her sister's a little older. Okay, we're talking teenager as compared to someone who's a preteen or even younger. And but these kids, and how many other times is this happening out there? Okay, you don't even have to have a death occur for children to know things. Okay, and how it changes their whole life and what they have to deal with getting older. So in Ariel's case, you've got a teenager who is going through normal teenage stuff. Okay, dealing with that's not easy on its own. But then to know that your sibling was killed, okay, and you were the one to find her body and then asked to help clean up to some degree. Okay, and then the threats and the fears of if you speak up, what's going to happen to other siblings, because especially as an older sibling, and this has happened, I'm sure, with the West boys as well. Okay, you've got the older ones, the ones who most people would be able to lean on for a case. Okay, you're going to lean on a 13 or 14-year-old or a 10-year-old before you would a 3 or 4-year-old. And but that teenager, that older child, is worried about, they feel some level of responsibility for their sibling. And if I speak up about this right now, what if I get separated from them? I can't make sure they're being taken care of if I'm not in the same house as them. All these other things that are going on. And so it just, it really, not to mention just the threats. Okay, if you're up there in court and you as a child are speaking against this person, we kind of talked about this earlier with the not the Vallow case, with T. And if you're there and you've got that parent or parental unit down there looking at you in just the wrong way, do you shut up all of a sudden, or
Right.
things like that. So yeah,
Mhm.
so many things. Um,
It's just
so
sad. You
yeah,
you have the situation where in both of these cases, like talking about Ariel Sellers, her
mhm,
trial is gonna be coming eventually, right? Someday they're
yep,
gonna have to do it.
better, yep, you
Um,
better,
but so you talk about this, and this is a situation where both of these older siblings were put in a place where they had to see their sibling deceased. He's seen his deceased sibling.
yep,
He
exactly,
watched him die. And so, like, the level of trauma that this child has, and then being torn because he doesn't wanna leave his mom and dad.
mm,
His mom and dad were nice to him.
yep,
He didn't understand. He didn't wanna watch them all get taken away and put into separate homes or into a different home, like, and of course, they are all in the same home, thank God in their case.
yes, yeah,
Um,
exactly,
but
but
it's
it's
just
not
it's sad that, he was put in this position where you have to lie for mommy and daddy, or
right,
this is gonna happen, we're gonna go to jail forever. And he's
yeah,
thinking, like, "Oh my gosh," you know? It's a horrible place to put a child, horrible
oh yeah.
place.
Yeah. And we already know the system, even in the best situations, is not the best place for a child. Okay. They've got enough emotional issues going on at the time. Okay. And in the worst situations, God help them. I mean, they're having to deal with all these things on their own. And they will grow up and they will be adults someday and kids of their own and things like that. And
Mhm.
you have cycles, you have all these different things. By the way, hello Robin, hello my dear. So yeah, you bet that they're scared the same thing would happen to them. Okay, could you see one of these, okay, the oldest in the West case, okay, thinking to themselves that, well, if I say what I know happened, what's going to happen? Okay, I all that, even before the arrests occurred, okay, or they were pulled away or anything, you get the fears. I guarantee you, okay, Jacqueline and Trezell were telling them all sorts of horrible things about what would happen
Mhm.
if they did say something. Okay, and they're going to believe it because they have nothing to fall back on to realize, oh no, this is just a load of crap that they're being fed, pretty much.
Right.
Robin, no, we do not have a verdict yet. Hopefully we will hear something tomorrow. They are coming back together at 11 o'clock tomorrow. So hopefully we'll hear something tomorrow.
Yeah, 2 p.m.
Um,
Eastern, 11 a.m.
your Thank you.
Pacific.
Pacific.
So, if you guys are used to
Way too early
Eastern
for me.
time, 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
what is
like,
that?
let's see,
8 a.m. for
8
you?
a.m., 8 a.m. for me. I will be in morning meetings or almost in morning meetings at that point. So, and also, but yeah, so taking this further, on December 22nd, Hansen interviewed the children at Wanda West's home. Recordings of those videos showed one of the children saying that they hadn't seen Orrin or Orson since the apartment, alluding to Casa Loma Apartments in Bakersfield. Another child said that when they were brought to Trezell's mother's home, Orrin and Orson weren't in the van. The children were taken to the Jameson Center in Bakersfield and interviewed again, this time by Sonia Barton, a social worker. On December 28th, 2020, the West's eldest son tells Barton that one night he heard strange noises coming from Orrin's bed, and the next day his parents said Orrin had died. The children saying his parents told him if they told anyone, the rest of the kids would be taken away. Okay, anyone who's ever dealt with a sibling passing away or something like that, I mean, could you see them going through and realizing there's no funeral, there's no saying goodbye or anything? Instead, you're told, oh, by the way, he died. If you say anything, you're going to get taken away. It's, yeah, this
Mhm.
is heartbreaking, Jet's mom. Um, That's what they put on their 10-year-old child. That's what they forced him to do. Promise not to say anything, Smith argued. He knew the right thing. The reason he didn't say anything earlier was because of his parents. Smith argued that Orrin died just before the family was set to move to Cal City in September 2020, and the couple conspired to hide the death. Then the couple on September 17th plotted to kill Orson before Wanda was set to help the family move to Cal City, Smith alleged. They're already in the process of moving. Questions are going to be asked. They use COVID as a shield, which again was also used for Ariel.
So many people. Yeah.
How many people? Yes. COVID from abuse, the numbers of abuse cases skyrocketing because children were pretty much locked in their house with abusers. Okay, to things like this. I mean, that's how they got away with disposing of Ariel, was saying, oh, husband came down with COVID and has to be out of work now for how many days. So they set it up. They have 3 months now. Discard the bodies, discard the phones, get new phone numbers. Wanda traveled to Cal City on September 19th to bring a U-Haul for the couple. She stayed with the 4 oldest children until September 20th, then drove Trezell back to Bakersfield to pick up the white van. She believed Orrin and Orson were with Jacqueline's mother, Maria. Maria, however, testified she hadn't really seen the family after they moved. The prosecution also played interviews with Jacqueline telling investigators that the boys were with them at that time. Smith pointing out that out of the family members, no one could recall seeing Orrin or Orson for months. Wanda testifying the last time she remembered seeing the boys was in February or March of 2020. Trezell's brother and father testifying similarly. And welcome, Lisbeth. Was Orrin sick? What sort of noise was it? I don't know if this article kind of goes into that one or not. Hey, Lisbeth. And we'll find out. If not, let's come back to that question for sure. Let's see. While there were Christmas presents, so we get to Christmas now, and that's where most of us were saying, yeah, they had to do something at that point because Christmas was coming up and they would have been found out during Christmas. Smith argued that those gifts were from Jacqueline's sister. So those gifts that we were told all this time, oh, there's gifts for Orrin and Orson and all.
Somebody had
those
given
were
them to
coming
him.
from the sister. Yeah.
That's sad. Yeah.
Makes sense.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. It does. The state entrusted Orrin and Orson to them, and what they do? They killed them, Smith argued. Now the defense. What is the offense saying? Hey, Bethia. Hello, and welcome, my dear. This man's got no moral fiber. Look at the way he's looking at those kids. Trezell's lead defense attorney, Timothy Hennessy, said as he showed the jury 2 photos of the West family with smiling faces as Trezell held Orrin and Orson. Okay, I'm gonna get mad at this part, I have a feeling. The defense argued that before the end of the first night of investigation, police believed Trezell and Jacqueline were involved in the boys' disappearance. Hennessy argued that this resulted in police ignoring other potential leads. They didn't ask follow-up questions to neighbors regarding surveillance videos. They didn't follow up on the tip suggesting a sighting of the boys in Arlington, Texas, until the defense asked about it. And they didn't write reports or gather surveillance videos from the neighbors closest to the West house. They're scared to admit that they were wrong, Hennessy said. They just assumed the boys would show up and the Wests would confess. Hennessy argued that on the night Officer Hansen interviewed the West's other children, the questions were leading and improper, resulting in confused children giving confused answers. After the children made partial statements about not seeing Orrin or Orson, Hansen relayed that information to other investigators, and it spiraled from there, Hennessy alleged. It's like a bad game of telephone where everyone just listens to what Hansen has told them. The defense continued to point out inconsistencies in the investigation. He argued that the investigation, which started in December of 2020 amid protests regarding George Floyd, couldn't help but be influenced. He argued this started the first night, when body-worn camera footage showed Trezell pleading with officers to do more to look for the boys, and the officer response alluding to arresting Trezell.
We got to bring race into this, right?
Oh, yes,
that's
exactly.
What that's coming down to.
How
like,
else?
Oh, they didn't look for these boys properly because just a couple little black boys. We don't need to search for them. And that's literally what this defense attorney is standing here saying to this jury. It's mind-blowing to me.
Bingo. I'm sitting here. Okay, this is a case that was looked at. Yes, now true. The normal public is not getting a lot of this information until now. But you know what? The normal public even had a good feeling on this. Even people were trying to figure out how, okay, could the boys have been taken here or done this or whatever. There was so much of those things going on. But you know what? Yes, you get a point. Okay, now, and I'm speaking devil's advocate right here. You do get a point. This is what we talk all the time about, Sleuth. Okay, when you start filling in the blanks based off of hearsay or based off of what you're being told, you start developing your own picture of what happened. But sometimes that picture that you're developing is the right picture. Okay, in reality. But that's why we do try to stick to the facts until you gather all the facts. But the fact that they're going in from here from the beginning and trying to point it out and pull in yeah, no, yeah. Hennessy, again, we got to bring it in, who appears white, argues that if he had reported his children missing, police wouldn't be questioning him or threatening him with arrest on the same night. And the whole theory doesn't add up. Hennessy said, we can't convict two people just because we want to pretend two kids didn't get taken. Alexia Torres Stallings, who is the lead defense attorney for Jacqueline, laid out several jury instructions during her closing arguments. She specifically focused on instructions relating to reasonable doubt, especially in regards to witness testimony and police evidence in this case. A slap in the face, Torres Stallings said, referring to evidence not gathered by police. She argued this was a result of bias on the investigators' part and that they didn't want to find evidence that could exonerate Trezell and Jacqueline. Check your bias, Torres Stallings pleaded of the jury. There is nothing in this case that points to the unreasonable conclusion that they did anything. Finishing closing arguments, Smith told the jury that this case will come down to who the jury believes, Trezell and Jacqueline or their children. Deliberations now do. Ooh, that was an interesting article. I kind of like how they try to bring two different sides together. I do have this to say, though. If you look at the two different sides, even here in this article, the side being brought out, okay, by the prosecution, they're going to facts. This is what we were told. Okay, this is where those gifts occurred. This is what the footprints actually looked like. And on the other side is more talking about lofty thought processes and stuff like that, not taking it down to the facts that could point that the children were taken by someone else, or to find what do they think happened then? If the parents, yeah, and also, any thoughts here, my dear?
No,
I mean, go back through chat.
I could see, I could see where they're trying to get off saying that there's no direct evidence of the murder, because there isn't. But to say that there's no evidence that because we're just ignoring and pretending that these kids weren't taken, like, come on. You guys know as well as we do, there was no footage coming from that house. Maybe you want to say maybe they were missing longer and that they were stolen earlier and they were afraid to say something earlier. Maybe that would make sense. But not to sit there and pretend they were taken that night. Like, nobody is going to believe that. Now, I do see where the jury is probably struggling whenever it comes down to, I guess it would be Orson's murder. And because of the fact that, he was killed beforehand, and because he was killed beforehand, and like they report how he died, basically, that they heard a thud. They went in to check on him and he was like frothing at the mouth or something along those lines.
Right.
And he died. So like that could have been a number of different ways to die. And then they tried to cover that up. But then you have no explanation for how then his brother mysteriously dies, 2 days later or whenever it was, however many days. So I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. Sorry.
And that is the defense's job, is to do that. They are trying to figure out and prove that, okay, they got to come up with that little question, that little niggling question in the back of a juror's mind. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, BC, why burn the seat? Okay, why all these things that they did? Okay, you guys remember all the things about them on the outside playing. Okay, all of the different things that were being pulled up initially. Okay, why, if they had not done something, did they go to such a far extreme just to prove that they didn't do anything? Okay, why keep telling this story? Yes, there is always this fear, oh my gosh, I might get in trouble, people aren't going to believe me and all that. So you that's why I keep telling people, you know what, if you've done
Right.
something, don't start, because you're going to build yourself worse and worse and worse. I just tell the honest truth from the get-go. And
Right. And I was trying to find the article where they talk about what the sons actually witnessed. The one that I'm looking at right this second is about the 16-year-old former foster child. Um, he described the punishments that they used to get. He said that when he said that his younger brothers would be punished by Jacqueline if they didn't eat their food or if they cried. He said this punishment often involved screaming at the children. He also testified that when the boys cried, Jacqueline would hold them down until they stopped, and he demonstrated her holding them. He said that she would place her arms around the child's neck and torso and her legs around the child's legs. So she would like bear grip them, it sounds
yeah,
like, until like like you would almost a like a seizure patient or a
right,
like that's what it sounds like to me,
yep,
until they would stop crying. And it's like
yeah,
these are babies. These are 3, 4, year old babies. What are you doing?
yeah. No, you got it. And yeah, actually, I'm trying to remember. Actually, I don't think it was a seat. We're remembering the burning of the seat was someone else. And I do remember they were gathering, supposedly when it happened, they were gathering
Right.
firewood or something at the time. I don't know
They
if they were
burnt a
burning
seat.
it.
So they burnt a seat. Okay.
I don't
At
remember
his
that.
mom's house later on, they had burnt a seat right around this time frame between September and before the boys were reported missing. They had burnt a seat out of their old van, and then get this, they went and bought an identical van and left their old van at their
Right,
mom's house
right,
and started using this new identical van. Who does that?
right. Yep. That is, now I remember that one. Yes. In fact, I'm going through the whole timeline right now just to kind of remind myself of all the different things that happened within this. Yeah, I remember all of these different questions that were going on with this. It's, you know, so many different things. And I feel for, because it's looking like now that family members had no idea what was going on.
Mhm.
And for so long,
Or
people
at
were
least they're
pointing at
claiming not
family member,
to.
or yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, and
And
and they might not know to a point,
mhm,
like, they might not have realized when it happened, okay?
right,
They might not have realized whenever it was going on, but at the same time, the car seat burning and yeah, it was at the grandparents' house, Kathleen, you're
yeah,
right. It was at Trezelle's mom's.
moms, yeah,
Um, but that type of stuff happening, it's just all kind of weird,
yeah,
it's just what type of reasoning did they give you for buying a brand new vehicle at the same time that they bought a brand new house and they just conveniently have to, burn a car seat in your backyard, which that doesn't make sense anyways,
yeah,
because I
no.
really think they use the U-Haul to transport the bodies. So the whole
No,
situation
I
was
think
just
you're right
weird.
with that. Yeah, no, and I had totally forgotten that's where it was. It was, and that's why so many people brought. And I think, okay, this is where a lot of the thing comes. So many of us, we want to trust and believe our friends and family. Okay,
Mhm.
you don't want to think bad things. That's why we opened up this whole live talking about, okay, uh, serial murders, and how
Mm.
many times those serial murders,
Yeah,
neighbors
blindsided.
never had any idea. Yeah,
Mhm.
because we don't want to see evil happening right underneath our nose, especially in a case like this. Okay,
Right.
but I sit here and I look, okay, these kids, first of all, were being used just as a way of them having money. Okay, you got pretty dang good money coming in by bringing in these kids. And then you do have, okay, did they even have the skills to parent. And that just gets into the whole thing about system in general. Okay, if we're dealing with things such as fostering, adopting, and I know some states do this, where you have really good training on parenting skills, things like this. I don't think these two ever had any idea on parent. You show it just right there on how they held children down and stuff like that. So, yeah. Uh, yeah, they do need quite. I'm hoping. Does anyone know how what they're looking at possibly serving?
Oh
They
gosh,
are
hold on.
unfit to parent. Let me see that real
Yeah.
quickly. I also have another case we'll switch over to after this. That's a good, happy case, but let's finish this one up. Um, because yeah, they deserve a good amount. And I think if people stop getting these slaps on the wrist, sorry, who did I roll over? Who did I roll over?
So life. Okay. It says if they are charged with second degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and other offenses, they face life terms in prison if convicted. So
Oh wow.
that's all this
Okay.
article says is just life
Okay.
terms, which they deserve. I mean, I
Which
don't
they
know. We were talking about
yes.
this a little bit. We were talking about this a little bit earlier because Samuel Olson, I don't know if you remember who he is, but Teresa Balboa pled guilty to his murder yesterday. And
Okay.
great, doesn't put the family through the harshness of a trial. Okay, so
Right.
that's good news. However, they gave her 52 years and she is up for parole in 26. So she will be 57 years old whenever she is eligible for parole. And I'm sorry, but that's just too much life left to
That's
live.
yeah, exactly.
That's not
Exactly.
okay with me. And it's not okay with
No.
his mom either. She was pretty upset.
Yeah.
She's like, why does she even get the chance to live or to have
Mhm.
another day whenever my
Yeah.
Sammy doesn't?
Well, and
And
I
so
think
it's
that's where it
frustrating.
comes. Yeah. I think the family is the one. I think, yes, I know we try to keep things fair for everyone and all, but I think the family should have some say in those things.
Mhm.
Okay, yes, some family would probably be like, "Oh, that's great. No, as long as she's learned a letter, whatever, whatever." And others are going to be like, "No, no. Okay, my little one is not going to. Samuel's not going to be able to live. Okay, more than what 10? How old was Samuel? About 5 years old. Yeah,
Yeah, 5.
yeah.
It was right before his 6th birthday
A
whenever he
sixth
was
birthday.
killed.
Yeah, and you know what? I think a family should have some say. Okay, too many things, especially when you're dealing with people getting out after just serving a very small part. Half is small. I'm sorry, but half of your sentence is small. There's a reason why they were given that many years. And what's even worse is you're seeing more and more cases lately where, because of prisons being overloaded and stuff like that, people are getting out even earlier than that
Yeah, like, they
nowadays.
get
It's
the
like, oh,
sentences, but then it's like, "Oh, we're gonna give you 5 years off because we need
yeah.
your space."
Hmm.
Like, what? No. No.
Yep. And also, yeah, no, it's so frustrating with those cases. Okay, let me pull this over. So yeah, so hopefully we'll hear something tomorrow. I've got a good feeling tomorrow we might get what's gonna, but I really, oh God, I hope they get everything that they can get coming at them at this
Me
point.
too.
So,
Me too. The only
um,
thing that I'm nervous about is
it's
the
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 questions.
second-degree murder for Orson. Is it
And it's
Orson?
hard because we
I mix
really
them
don't
up.
know. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. No, I did even at that time too. And that's the problem because if we had them, we'd be able to say, see, this is exactly, and it'd make it
right,
much easier, I think, to get the full extent. Um, it's the same thing we're gonna have with Ariel, to be honest, in my
right, to
eyes. I'm
Orin.
really worried about it too.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so we've got also a good news story. How many of you guys have heard about this one? This was so good. First of all, how many of you guys have been watching, okay, Netflix new Unsolved Mysteries stuff? Who's calling? Sorry, one of my friends is calling me. I can't talk right now. Um, I have loved watching this show like crazy. Hey, Lone Wolf, how you doing, my dear? So, okay. So here we come. So actually, let me play this. I'm going to go and play this one instead of just reading it. So here we go. So courtesy of WVLT 8. Thank you so much from Knoxville, Tennessee. Here we go.
A 9-year-old South Elgin girl who's been missing since 2017 was found 6 years later in North Carolina.
Super happy. Even last week we were still working on this case. I was talking to the detectives about it, and they were trying to follow leads with the U.S. Marshals.
Incredibly, she was discovered by someone who recognized her from a Netflix show. Kayla's case was featured in the Netflix series Unsolved Mysteries about parental abductions. The 9-year-old girl was abducted by her mother, Heather, back in July of 2017. When her father, Ryan, went to pick Kayla up from her mother's home in Wheaton, she wasn't there. At the time, Ryan had full custody and Heather only had visitation rights. This past weekend, a store owner who had seen the Netflix show apparently recognized Kayla at a shopping center in Asheville and immediately called police.
It's the first time I've heard about it from our department, so yeah, I think it is very unusual, and what a great way for a show like that to make a positive impact.
Authorities arrested 40-year-old Heather Unbehun, who posted a $250,000 bond and was released this morning. She's due back in court in North Carolina on July 11th.
We try to keep the engagement of the public, and that's exactly how it transpired in this particular case, is that we had excellent citizen engagement.
Wow.
Freaking awesome is that? The only thing I will say is that this poor girl probably didn't even realize that she was considered missing. She probably had no idea, and it's probably extremely traumatizing, the fact that her
Oh,
mom
yeah.
was arrested and, all these things, and who knows what her and her dad and her whatever the relationship and, uh, never mind all of that though. This is awesome that Netflix actually has this whole situation where
Yeah.
they're putting missing people out that we wouldn't necessarily cover. I mean, and not that, we don't cover cold cases, but it's just not as often. We do tend to cover more so the people who are currently missing. So I
Yeah.
love
And that's
Netflix for
something
this.
I think, yeah, it's something we need to do better on is cover some of the old things. I just pulled that down because in watching that, I came across a GoFundMe they were talking about, and I went on it just because I thought I wanted to see the picture and see what it said. Look at this. This was her when she went missing. And that is just okay. She was last seen in the care of her mother. Someone said, I wish you knew more. Seal, you were saying you wanted to know more about the story. So she was last seen in the care of her mother, Heather, on July 4th following a parade in Wheaton. According to police interviews, Heather was last seen packing her belongings up to the roof of the car. Her closest family members indicated she went on a camping trip to an unknown location in Wisconsin, was expected to return on Wednesday, July 5th at 7 p.m. for parenting time exchange. Heather and Kayla did not show up for the court ordered exchange, and the police were immediately contacted. Investigation launched. It was discovered that all of her social media had been canceled, her phone turned off. As far as we know, no one has been able to reach her or talk to her since the 4th of July, way, way back 6 years ago. Because of this, the following day, this guy had filed a missing persons report for both of them. She did not show up on the court date motion. Okay. Wow. Wow.
She
Oh.
just took off with her.
Yeah,
She
just took
basically
off.
just
Hi,
took
this
off.
is Kayla here. I have a gecko. I'll show you.
Oh, big gecko.
I'm not gonna show you.
Oh. And what's
He's
that?
fat. He has a fat tail. Yeah, his belly is really
Surprised he's not
soft.
jumping. My
He
geckos
likes
jump.
to climb on things. We have a little cage over there.
Oh, she is adorable. Oh, wow. This is 3 minutes long. Okay. She is adorable. And the way that I see it is she was taken away from her dad for 6 years.
Yeah.
And like you said, she now has this additional thought of realizing who knows what her mom has been telling her all these years and things like this. But now they have a chance to mend that relationship. So
Right.
And oh, I just saw this here, Elizabeth. Yes, yes. And that was a good one. But yeah, that's good.
Oh, thank
I
you.
think we're seeing cold cases have chances. Okay, there is no expiration date on being able to find people. We just have to, like they said, okay, with unsolved mysteries, it's about keeping the story out in the public's eye, and then someone's going to see something, and then bang, you can bring them home. So that's awesome. That really, I love that story. That's cool. So,
Yeah, thank you
oh,
so
wow.
much for
Yeah.
sharing that, because I wanted to earlier and I completely forgot. Like I couldn't. I don't know. I don't know what happened to me this afternoon, but like we we got delayed on my live. It got pushed back like 2 different times, and then whenever I did finally went live, and even right now, I mean, still today I am just brain mush. Like my brain is just
I get you.
it's not
I
here.
get you.
So
I know there was a part of me when the power went out earlier. I was talking to you. I don't know if it's going to be back on time. And part of me is like, oh my gosh, maybe it'd be good if the power doesn't come back on by then. Then I can focus. You know how you get your mind going in
yeah,
5 million
yeah.
different. But this is always so much fun to pull together with everyone and it all. So, but yeah, no, I definitely. In fact, Chris, I need to post something for our cold case Thursday. I forgot to do that this morning, so because of our power going out. So,
Mhm.
Melissa, how you, Melissa? Mwah, love you, my dear. And also, but this is definitely. Hopefully, we'll hear something more about the West Boys in the next day. I'm really hoping tomorrow. What's your thought? Do you think we got a good chance for tomorrow?
Oh yeah, I think that it's for sure gonna be tomorrow. I just don't know if it's gonna be right at 11, like people are thinking.
Right, exactly, exactly. Whether they just come together and yeah, no, you got it. So, well, we'll have to see. Hopefully, we know you'll go live.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
going to be in it. That's the problem. I always in. I have to work in the morning. It sucks. Oh, but okay. Well, we will definitely head over to Sleuth then tomorrow if we hear that something's popping up on this. I will be going live tomorrow for a mental health discussion. I have a possible subject brewing in my head right now. We will see if I decide to go in that direction. And after that, of course, we've got good old Cantina after that. So please join us for that. And all other than that, thank you all of you guys who are sitting here. Love each and every one of you. And I will talk to you guys later. Anything last you wanted to say real quickly, Sleuth?
Nope, that's it. Have a good night, everyone. Love you guys.
Okay. Good night, guys. Love ya.